Wembanyama looked great. I mean, very athletic. He can threes. Holmgren actually did very well also. I think he might have outscored the Wemby man in this game. But every time I saw a highlight, he was getting knocked out. He looked like Jerry Quarry. I think Tommy Hearns had a better chin than this guy, right? And the unfortunate thing for the hitman was if you blew on his chin, he went down. Literally, did you see any of these highlights? Because Holmgren, every play, he was knocked on his ass. Although he performed very well, and he shrugged it off. It reminded me of like Ryan Tannehill when I saw him get just clobbered in his rookie season with the Miami Dolphins. A guy gets annihilated in a preseason game, just taken out with a vicious Marvin Jones on Gina Toretta type of hit. I'm looking to see, what this guy's reaction is going to be. They show him on the bench, and he's laughing.
Yeah. No,
I thought, okay, I mean, this guy can live with a concussed head. He's very much like Troy Aikman. But they should just, hit Dolphin quarterbacks over the head with a sledgehammer as their initiation at their rookie introductory press conference. Just say, okay, now it's time to get a little bit of a feel for what it's going to be like back there.
Just set them up for what's
right in the head.
You can handle this. You can handle being a Dolphin.
A surprise shot to the temple from out of nowhere. And if they're still, talking at the press conference after that, then, that's my quarterback.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on this fine Tuesday, and great to have the wonderful birthday boy, celebration man himself, Mr. Mike Lubie Lubitsch. You're looking good, Lubie, for a guy that just passed another age milestone of sorts. Although the big 4-0, is somewhat traumatic for a lot of people. I don't know that it should be. To tell you the truth, I would love to turn the clock back to 40. That would be fantastic. These last 32 years have not been kind to me or my body in any way. I had a good time. I mean, I guess the carcass that I'm living in probably was useful up to about almost like 66, 67 years old. And then after that, man, it was the Mendoza line for men. Fortunately, they haven't started to extract body parts and organs yet. But
that's a win.
imagine that's right around the corner. But 41, I mean, you're just getting started, man. Just a springboard here. And, I've often told you, as you wondered whether or not any of this was worth it, Lubie, and whether you'd be better off just pursuing any kind of manual labor or any sort of job where you actually got paid on a regular basis and you didn't have to worry about getting canned or some new format coming along. This seems to have a future to it. And, a lot of things are going to be solidified over the next couple of weeks. The question is, will the revenue follow, Lubie? It's always the question in this, new age of broadcasting where, hey, you making any money doing that? Well, money, you say money. Money doesn't really define everything. It's all about the art, is it not?
Yeah.
The art of being able to BS. All right. We had that quarterback clip with the concussion thing with Tua. Fortunately, nothing negative has happened to Tua Tagovailoa so far this year. It's been great.
Yeah.
And that was after, you talk about makeshift patchwork. Whatever. Did we ever decide which was worse, to have a makeshift offensive line or a patchwork offensive line?
I don't know. I think Mr. Mama said patchwork is worse, but I lean makeshift.
Makeshift means what? That you've taken a linebacker and plugged them in a guard? Is that makeshift? Or, you're grabbing guys literally like Chris Greer was doing off the street. He was pulling up to like a Shell station and going, yo, fatso, get in a car. Tangle like a, big fat Dolphin contract. Even minimum salary for one game in the NFL would have been worth risking your life for, I guess. That's the age-old question. But would you take $1 million to let Mike Tyson punch you in the face one time? And my answer to that is no. Would it be worth it, really, to have like every bone fractured in your face just to have $1 million? I guess, you're thinking the healing process would be a little bit easier. You'd be far more pacified knowing you had that $1 million in the bank. But what if you didn't live to spend a dime of it, right? I always think that when filthy rich people check out, don't you, Lubie? All that money, right? All that money. And you know what? If you're gone at like 69, 70 years old, well, guess what? I've already run past that.
Yep.
I'm still here. It's like Papillon, right? I'm still here. You assholes. Unbelievable.
I love you assholes. They're calling you out. They're not even worried about you.
Where am I at today, man? Man, we're guest intensive. I think that's good based on the way this show has started. We're going to talk to a lot of interesting people, which I'm sure will be, quite a turn on for the audience out there. Since so far we've had nothing to say. Glenn Geffner going to join us on baseball. Baseball so far. I watched a little of both games last night. I don't know if you caught any baseball action. Were you busy engaged in other things last night, Lubie? You were always out and about doing something. Or do you even have the interest in it? You also had the Dallas game against the Chargers.
I kept track of that. That's what I kept track of more.
Dallas and the Chargers, yeah. I mean, I finally busted that string of Francesco victories. My buddy, whose action I've been booking, he went 3-2 in a college on the college slate this week, which wasn't bad for him. And that is following in the throes of just a woeful slump where he was like 5-14 in his previous 19 games. And we came to the conclusion, and I'm going to stick with this, that in life you want to be the book. Right? It's always better to be the rake, in life. And in this case, you want to be the book because, the other people are just flailing away, picking loser after loser, even if they get off to a hot start. Eventually, everybody comes back to the pack. And most people, would you say it's a fair assumption, Louis? And people don't like to admit that they're losers. We've suggested that this would be therapeutic for most people in our listening audience, our viewing audience, just to stand in front of the mirror every day when you get up, almost as if you were doing some kind of mantra, Nam Yoho Renge Kyo, Nam Yoho Renge Kyo. That didn't work for Tina Turner either, man. She still couldn't keep Ike off of her. I mean, what a schmank this guy turned out to be. But, and stand in front of the mirror and just say, I'm a loser.
I just love that.
I'm not going to make any bets today because I'm a loser and I'm not what I appear to be. Would you say, Lubie, is it a fair assumption that most people in picking sporting events to wager on against the point spread are under 500, are under 50% in terms of picking? Now, just by arbitrary luck, you should go 50-50. One team has to win and one team has to lose.
Yep.
I know. There are always wise guys out there screaming, "What about a push, Defo?" Well, we know that. I mean, we don't need to throw that in there as a qualifier. But in most sporting events, you're going to get the occasional tie. But one team has to win, one team has to lose. So what would you say the odds are of you picking a winner? 50-50, no? If you didn't think at all, and you just and we've done experiments with this, have we not? What do we have? The monkey picking the different color grapes to decide who we were going to go with?
Oh, it was a monk. They had brought a monkey in studio, and they put out bananas, and like they would put a banana by each team, and whichever banana he took was his pick. And I think he kicked my ass in the tournament.
The monkey went 13-2,
annihilated me.
like 6-9 in the same 15 games. Like, well, and it's always embarrassing when you're the sports guy and you suck at picking games because people are counting, hey, who do you like in the Dolphin game? And you go, well, I like the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs. What do you know, Defo? They tell you to go fuck yourself anyway when you give them your opinion. And then they love to rub it in. Hey, the sports guy.
Exactly.
Which is why it's always so funny that the cleaning lady always wins the NCAA office pool. Somebody that has zero knowledge, and that would have been the case this year, wouldn't it? I mean, who had a bracket that looked anything like what the actual order of finish was? Nobody.
FAU, San Diego State, UConn, and this isn't UConn in like the late 90s.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
2023.
Holy Duran Sheffer, speaking of Israel. Unbelievable. The rankings are out, by the way, college hoops, and FAU is number 10 in the preseason polls. 10.
Yeah.
You're saying everybody on the team from last year, with like one exception, came back?
Yeah, at least that's what Special was saying. I mean, he said almost the entire team, but like two guys.
How would Special say it? He would say it like this. They bring everybody back. Not overwhelmingly enthusiastic when he talks about this stuff, although he is very enthusiastic about the game. We love you, Special K. But remember, he used to come on the shows and go, well, they got a really good team.
Thanks, Special.
What am I doing here, man? This is entertainment, my friend.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, it's good to be right about this stuff.
Yes.
Number 10 for FAU. Comes in number 13 in the preseason ranking. So both teams getting some recognition there that they previously had not received prior to the season. Gonzaga, one of your favorites, is number 11. I don't know if Gonzaga has anybody of significance.
Yeah.
We mentioned Chet Holmgren, who was there a couple of years ago in the clip that you heard at the top of the show. And they really do need to institute, and I'm surprised that this hasn't been addressed by Adam Silver yet. I think they need to institute in the NBA, because of Holmgren, the 3 knockdown rule should be in effect. It's no longer ever in effect in boxing. And, I've said this many times because I used to have to do it all the time. And you're wondering, as you're reading the graphic that is posted up on the screen there, as you're doing a live boxing match and preliminary to the first bout getting underway. Well, here are the unified rules of boxing. And the unified rules of boxing only include rules that they've eliminated. How barbaric is that, my friend? No 3 knockdown rule and no standing 8 count. Now, that's been sort of universally true for what? Probably as long as you've been watching boxing.
Yeah,
Was there ever a time when a guy said, hey, well, you won't believe this. The 3 knockdown rule's in effect here.
Yeah, they always say it's not in effect. I'm like, why would
Not
you
in effect.
it doesn't exist?
So essentially, the rule doesn't exist. I mean, it's not in effect. Why would it be in effect sometimes and not others?
That's weird.
Right? Guy gets knocked down 3 times in one round. I mean, you're thinking that's it, my friends. It's time to wave this thing off. Although you might get an argument from Juan Manuel Marquez when he got knocked down 4 times in the first round against the great Manny Pacquiao and came back and earned a controversial draw. Is there a draw that is not controversial, Lubie? Yeah, I suppose so. Right, where 2 guys are duking it out for
at it, and like if guys really go at it, it's just usually that's not the case. Usually the draw comes in when you're like, yeah, let's keep that guy around. We want.
Oh yeah, well, Julio Cesar Chavez, Sweet Pea Whitaker, San Antonio, Texas, circa what was that, like late '80s, early '90s? Was it that far back, Lubie? I just remember being in shock, and even the Chavez fans with the red bandanas were screaming, "Are you kidding me? A draw!" As Chavez got the shit knocked out of him. Hey, he wasn't really hurt that badly because Whitaker wasn't a big puncher, but Sweet Pea just outdueled him the entire time. Even if you were, in Chavez's family, even Don King couldn't have scored it any worse than 8-4 for Whitaker. And I remember, and I was not that close to the ring, but I can actually see the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, who was doing the in-ring interviews for that particular event, and you could see him mouthing the words, "It's a fucking draw." Like, how are they going to sell this to the crowd? This is not going to be easy. 65,000 people leaving the Alamo Dome there that day, and all of them know that there was just an outright first-class robbery that took place there in that particular fight. Yeah, but usually, I mean, you see controversial draws, but every now and then, I remember, calling many fights and thinking, you know what, Lubie, we could live with a draw here.
Yes.
Wouldn't be outrageous to have that be the decision. And then, of course, it would be very lopsided, all in favor of Canelo Alvarez, right? Yep. Last night's game. So what did you take away from that? Dallas bounces back and they beat the Los Angeles Chargers. The debate, should it even be ongoing anymore about Herbert and Tua? I mean, you would have to say that Tua, just by record alone, is having a better season than Justin Herbert. Is it Herbert's fault? Brandon Staley? I mean, who do we point a finger at with the Chargers? They were supposed to be good.
To right when people were writing him off, get the guy that was perfect for him. And Herbert's never had that. Like Tua got the coach that watched tape of him and fell in love with him and has put an offense around him that accentuates his talents. And Justin Herbert doesn't have that. Now, Justin Herbert's kind of quarterback where I think any offense would accentuate his talents. The problem is his coach hates winning. So,
yes, he does have some kind of bizarre losing fetish.
So, I don't think it matters who his coach is, actually. I think Tua needed a certain coach. I don't think Herbert does, but he doesn't need a coach that doesn't get in his way constantly.
Yes. This young guy, I mean, that was all. Wasn't he one of another of the many failed coaches that fell out of the McVay coaching tree?
He was young. This was his first chance, actually. And
okay.
He failed miserably, and they keep hanging on for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, if you're coaching what's supposed to be a really good team and you're constantly getting mediocre results, I mean, what do? You go visit the grave of Tony Sparano, no? So, you know what, Tony? You weren't that bad at this. You had a winning season. That was good. Nice. You won 11 games there with Chad Pennington, a guy who couldn't throw the ball 6 yards down the field. And you managed to make that work. How did we ever, with the Dolphin team, put a winner on the field with that? All right, Glenn Geffner is going to join us shortly here. We'll talk some baseball. The Phillies on fire, and so are the Texas Rangers. The Rangers, again, beat the Astros. It does seem like there's a universal underlying hatred of the Astros. Is that going to go on forever because of the cheating incident?
I mean, at least for a few years. You understand, I also brought him on for what happened down here. That's also a big thing. He wrote a scathing indictment on his sports stack yesterday about his former employer. And I figured if anyone knows the failings of the Miami Marlins.
Oh, well, please.
I mean, no,
this would be like us talking about iHeartMedia. You know,
yes.
their brilliant decision to bag local sports. Yeah.
Literally, she did a great job. So Bruce Sherman sits her down. It's like, we want to give you a boss. You did a great job. You turned things around in a way no one has been able to since freaking, not even Beinfest. Beinfest lived on the coattails of our buddy that's with the Phillies.
Jeffrey Loria. Yeah. Oh, Dombrowski.
Dombrowski, yes. It was really Dombrowski, the first person since Dombrowski to really do anything.
Yeah.
So they're like, you know what? You probably should win Executive of the Year. Let's give you a boss.
Yeah, I mean, she would have gotten my vote for Executive of the Year. I mean, probably closer examination might have led you in other directions. I don't know. You're looking at, Arizona did well. Texas spent an awful lot of money, although they didn't really get to capitalize on all of it with DeGrom going down right away. And that was something you could have considered to be catastrophic. But who really did a better job than Skip Schumacher this year on the field and Kim Ng in the front office? Makes, a couple of moves there at the trade deadline and was able to overcome without having the bankroll to do it like Cashman does. A major couple of mistakes, right? Avisail Garcia. Anybody seen him anywhere around?
No.
Was he? He was selling popcorn in the stands during the postseason. The two games that they played. All right, Glenn Geffner is going to join us, and he should have some real insight. One thing I love about Glenn is he does not, even though you could tell, like we can say it, he got completely fucked by the organization. I mean, just undeservedly so. I mean, a passionate guy that was really good at his job. It wasn't like he was 100 years old or something, and you could say, well, geez, you know what? They needed a fresh young voice in there. This was a guy, and everybody liked him. He couldn't be any more of a likable guy, and you could sense it from his broadcast. Didn't you want to? You did get that feeling with Glenn that you were sitting in the stands with a guy. This is the ultimate way that you could bring off a broadcast and sort of relate, make your game relatable to the audience, is that you feel like you're sitting in the stands with the guy and he's got the scorecard out and goes, yeah, that was 6-4-3. And you're saying, did you see that play by the right field? It was like you were sitting right there enjoying a ball game with him.
Yes.
That's hard to bring off on the radio. It's not that easy. All right. So we're going to bring on Glenn Geffner here in a moment on the Defo Show. And now that has to be one of the stranger stories. I mean, just again confirming our worst fears about the the Marlins organization and their penchant for self-sabotage. My God,
literally the perfect term for it.
It's 8:21.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten Meshuggah.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
That much we know for sure. The world has gone Meshuggah, but here's a guy that can help us straighten out a lot of different things. And look at this gentleman. Could you have a more perfect guest lined up, Lubie? When you said this morning, I was so heartened, so emboldened about today's show because I stepped out of the shower and I thought, you know what, Deef, you really got nothing today. What garbage are you going to make up? I didn't see enough of these games to be, any kind of analytical genius. And there's Glenn Geffner, man. Glenn, good to have you on the show. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you guys. A lot of pressure if we're going to solve all the world's problems in the next few minutes here.
I don't think
we don't do a very good job of that, as you know.
Where do we start?
Where does it begin? Where does it end? It's unbelievable. All right, let's just touch on these games and what's going on in the playoffs, and then we want to get into this Kim Eng story, which is that was one of those things that just you're looking at it and going, no way. I mean, it's impossible that these people parted ways. Although, it sort of fits in with the tradition of the franchise in terms of bozoic moves. Just when you think things are maybe turning the corner in the right direction. The Rangers, undefeated so far in the postseason, they were, sort of staggering a little bit down the stretch. They managed to, work their way in. They were contending with Houston for the division title, so it's possible they would have had a whole different set of circumstances going into the postseason. They're going to throw Scherzer out there, who hasn't pitched in a while, for Game 3, and they look great. A, did you see this coming? And B, what do you think of their performance so far?
It's amazing when you look at Texas. They lost the division on the final day of the season. So if they would have won the last day of the season, they would have the first round bye. Instead, they had to go to Tampa Bay. I think they wound up being on the road for something like 16 straight days at the end of the year and into the playoffs where they finally got home for one game, then back out on the road again. But you know why I saw it coming? Because of Bruce Bochy. They've got arguably the best manager in baseball in that dugout. I worked with Boch back in the 90s, early 2000s in San Diego. He's a future Hall of Famer. There's no question about that. He has a way of bringing out the best in every person on his roster, game after game, month after month, year after year. And even after being out of the dugout for the last 3 years and coming back this year, you look at the job he's done and you listen to what the players say about Bruce Bochy and the impact that he's made in Texas. It's really remarkable. Then they got our old friend Nathan Eovaldi, who's now 3-0 in the postseason this year after the win yesterday. It's a really good lineup. I don't think anybody thought it would be easy against Houston, and it still may not be. But going home now, up 2-0, you have to really like Texas's chances.
Look, I know we're down to the Final Four, and I know we're in the LCS, and that's where probably the focus should be. And it was for me until yesterday. When was it? Like 9 o'clock in the morning when we're in the middle of the show and the news came out and I almost laughed out loud in the middle of the show. I'm like, no, that's not true. I'm like, literally, I was hating on her as much as anyone ever could hate on a GM. And even I was like, Jesus, good for you, Kim. Like, what a great job she did last year. The Arise move, the Soler move, which seemed like a bust, ended up working out. Then at the deadline, you go and get 2 bats, the exact thing the team needed. You get into the playoffs, which you hadn't done in a full season since 2003. You're over 500 for the first time since 2016. Like, the accolades go down on and on and on. And it's like, isn't this the person you give a blank check to? No. Bruce Sherman sits down with Kim Eng and wants to give her a president. Not give her the title of president. Give her a president, which she didn't have before after her best year, the best year a GM has had since, like, Dave Dombrowski. I know you had your own thoughts, and that's why I wanted you to come on first and foremost, just so you know this organization as well as anyone. You went the highs and the lows with them. When you saw that, what were your thoughts, and how much were you aware of all of this going on?
You probably didn't expect to hear Golda Meir quoted this morning, guys. But there's the old Golda Meir line about never missing an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
Bingo.
And that's what it feels like the Marlins have gotten really good at, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wrote something a couple of weeks ago. I started a series of 10 burning questions the Marlins had to answer this offseason. And the first question I asked was, will Kim Eng be back in 2024? Not because there was any debate as to whether or not she deserved to come back, but were they going to make it worth her while financially? Were they going to finally pay her a market rate contract and reward her for what she's done? If you think about it, she's been here 3 years, but only 2 years with full autonomy after Derek Jeter left in February of 2022. And really only one off season that she's had to kind of craft this team. And it's Jeter left in 21, February 21. She had last offseason to craft this team. And did she bat 1,000? No, no general manager does. There were mistakes, and we could sit here and walk through Johnny Cueto. I thought at the time was a mistake, proved to be a mistake. The David Robertson deal certainly didn't work out, but there were a lot of victories for Kim Ng. And for me, the biggest one was hiring Skip Schumacher to manage his club and really transform the culture. The moves she made at the deadline were big. If you think about it now, the Marlins have made the playoffs twice under Bruce Sherman, in 2020 in the COVID abbreviated season and this year. And in both cases, the head of baseball operations is out at the end of that season. Think about that. A franchise that had been in the playoffs twice in its existence before 2020, you would think in both cases it's time for a bump in salary. In Kim's case, reportedly, there was an option on her contract for next year. And as I wrote yesterday, you had to assume this is what happened. She went in and said, hey, forget about the option. Let's talk about a multi-year extension and a market value contract. And they wouldn't do that. And then there's reporting initially from ESPN, and then The Athletic confirmed it, that they wanted to put a baseball operations president above her, which is shocking. What more could she have done in one offseason to get a team that nobody thought would be in the playoffs? Nobody outside of that organization thought there was any chance this team would reach the playoffs this year. She got them to the playoffs. That ought to be celebrated. Instead, she's gone. And as I wrote yesterday, the Marlins needed Kim Ng a lot more than Kim Ng needs the Marlins. She's going to land on her feet. She's going to end up in a very good place somewhere, and you certainly wish her the best. But for an organization that patted itself on the back to the point where I'm sure there were blisters after hiring the first female general manager in any of the major North American professional sports leagues, to see it end like this, it really is shocking. And it shouldn't be surprising. Because, look, when it's come down to it, in the end, the Marlins have lost a lot of really good people over the course of the last 6 years. And in most cases, it's come down to money. It's come down to bringing somebody in who's cheaper, who's younger, who's less experienced, and who, frankly, isn't as good at the job. I'm not sure what else Kim Ng could have done.
I don't know either. I mean, I guess, what she was talking about from the quotes that I've seen and been able to deduce, didn't like the idea of having somebody above her, which, what would that person be? I mean, we have a situation, too, where supposedly, and there was, an article, you would imagine, in the New York Post talking about how Kim Ng would be great if she ended up with the Mets. From Queens, started out playing kickball there.
Begging to have her. The big markets want her, and the Marlins have her right here.
Yeah, and I guess Boston was the other destination that was mentioned prominently as they have a GM vacancy. But and Epler just resigned there kind of under odd circumstances, being investigated for misuse of the injury list, which I guess it's even more convoluted in baseball than it would be in terms of its consequences in football. But that being said, they just brought in Stearns from Milwaukee. And you would imagine, Stern is going to be the way that he's going to rule things. So it would seem like if she was trying to get out from underneath the potential of somebody being above her on personnel decisions, that she wouldn't want to, go to New York with the Mets. But tell us a little bit about. I mean, you were there while Jeffrey Lurie and Sampson were the ownership of the team, and the fans and the media for the most part despise those guys. I have people telling me that David Sampson actually isn't a bad guy. But as far as, somebody that was...
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Yeah, but I mean, from a fan standpoint, and even from, the things that he said in the media, you thought, wow, what a jerk this guy is. I mean, and it couldn't be any more of a detriment to this organization. Same thing with Lauria and the way that he went about his business, with the exception of that 1 year when they went and signed, Heath Bell and all of these free agents and had Ozzie Guillen as manager. And that fell apart like almost immediately, that whole plan. But Bruce Sherman, I started to like him a little bit. We don't know anything about this guy. He's like a mystery man. And, it's like you're watching Johnny Depp and Blow, and everybody's asking every few minutes, hey, who's this mystery man, man? Where are you getting this stuff from? What do we know about this guy? And it seemed like he was sort of endearing himself to the fans here down the stretch and saying, hey, this is great. We're going to spend a little money. Go ahead, Kim Ng, unload a little bit on some trade deadline maneuvers. And then this happens. Like, it seems like an abrupt about face. What do we know about Bruce Sherman? I mean, should we be feeling good that this guy is the owner of this team?
It seems like a perfectly nice man to me in my very limited dealings with him over the years. Seems like a perfectly nice man. But let's go back to the beginning. You mentioned Jeffrey Loria and David Sampson. If you think about what the public perception of those two was when they left town, Bruce Sherman and Derek Jeter should have come in and had the greatest honeymoon in the history of sports. But remember, before they even took over, they fired Jack McKeon, they fired Andre Dawson, they fired Tony Perez, they fired Jeff Conine. A few weeks after they took over, they fired Rich Waltz. And all of a sudden, wait a minute, who are these guys? And look, to me, the best owners are people who care passionately. They love baseball. They care. They want to see their team win. And I truly believe that's the case with Bruce Sherman. But what the best owners do is they hire the best people on the business side and on the baseball side. They let them do their jobs and get the heck out of the way. And I've worked for owners and that's what I wish you'd see more of with Bruce Sherman is hire the best people and let them do their jobs. You look at the Kim Ng situation. I think they nailed that hire when they brought Kim Ng in. And I think it's actually Derek Jeter's greatest victory with the Marlins.
It was
Jeter's
his only good move, yeah.
Joe Torre's recommendation, and Jeter had worked with her. That was a victory for Derek Jeter bringing Kim Ng in. So here you have somebody, I thought, letting Mike Hill go because they insisted he take a pay cut, and he refused to take a massive pay cut. That's why Michael Hill was gone after 2020. I thought that was a mistake, but they rebounded nicely, bringing Kim Ng in. So now you have this person heading up your baseball operations, and it ends like this. They've never, in my opinion, gotten it right from day one on the business side, from a communications, from a marketing standpoint, from a sales, from revenue generating standpoint. From day one, they've never gotten that side right. You've got to have the right people and let them do their jobs. It seemed like they had the right person heading up baseball, and now she's gone.
Well, it was weird too. I mean, even from our standpoint, and you were sort of a little bit on the other side of this, although you were always kind of a bridge between team management and the media yourself, and always very available and always great to have on any kind of show. And then I remember all of a sudden there were some restrictions on your appearances, and I thought, how weird is this? You have one guy that's out there like a tremendous ambassador for your game. People want to have him on the air because he's enjoyable to talk baseball with and very knowledgeable. You couldn't have a better ambassador for. I mean, it was like you could have been Tommy Lasorda for the Marlins organization, and then they want to put a muzzle on you. Yeah, I mean,
I want it to be. You're right. You're right.
Prior to that, too, I mean, they had any number of people that were in public relations that you thought. I want to put like some scrub right fielder on my show at like 8:15 in the morning when everybody's in their car and driving to work at a time when radio had more influence, especially during that time slot. And you're telling me you can't help me or not even returning my calls. I mean, they seem like they're just on a blind mission of self-sabotage in that spot. And you're right. I mean, how can you afford to do that? But when you're looking in the stands, for important postseason or potential, postseason developing games at the end of the regular season, and you have like 8,000 people there to see the Mets.
It's sad. And, I grew up down here. I grew up down here long before there was Major League Baseball. We dreamed one day we would have a Major League team in Miami.
Yeah.
You guys have been here a long time. This is an organization that ought to be bending over backwards for fans, for season ticket holders, especially. There are people who have had season tickets since 1993 to this day, maintain their seats. You ought to be calling those people up and saying, hey, what time do you want to play tomorrow night?
Yeah.
You got to be bending over backwards for those people before you can even think about bringing in new people. But you're right. A lot of the decisions have been unusual, and I hate to see where it's got, and now you think, okay, now the team is getting better. So you've got a chance to build on this a little bit. And the good feeling that was out there at the end of this 2023 season, even though they got swept out of the playoffs by the Phillies, I don't think anybody holds that against them. The fact that they were there was a great victory for the Marlins. But I saw the comment on social media a few times yesterday. There goes the goodwill from 2023. Let's start over again. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Defo, I heard you use the line earlier about self-inflicted wounds, and that's exactly what this seems to be.
It's such ugliness, as we used to say in the restaurant business, when they put a table of farmers on your big four top, and everybody else is waiting on the top Hollywood celebrities. All right, so where does it go from here? Kim Eng, you would think is going to rebound and find some kind of a position. I mean, one of my philosophies was don't quit a job that you hate until you have some strong feeling that something else is evolving. Now, she's been around long enough to have confidence that some other organization probably is going to, at least put her in a position where she carried similar weight to what she was about to sort of influence with the Marlins. But what do they do? I mean, it's kind of like Lubie was, railing away all off season about how Portland is a lousy destination because of the way they treat players in the NBA and who's going to want to go there after what they did in the Damian Lillard deal. Nobody's going to want to play there. It's not a particularly glamorous destination anyway. Who's going to want to come here? I mean, there'll always be people, I guess, that want to get going and get their first opportunity. But where does this leave the franchise? What do you see happening?
I think that's where you probably end up because, first of all, if you're not going to pay Kim Eng what she was worth to begin with, so let's say there are going to be financial limitations on whoever you bring in, unless Bruce Sherman is shamed into stepping up and doing something different at this point. You're not going to have the pick of the litter when you look to bring somebody in at this point. The reputation of this franchise, I think, is going to be further tainted by what's happened here. Kim Eng was respected throughout the industry and also really well liked throughout the industry. She had a sterling reputation. So colleagues of hers, people she knows, are going to look at this and say, if they did this to Kim Eng, what are they going to do to me? So that's where I think you have to look at either promoting from within, where, quite frankly, I don't think there's an obvious candidate, or giving somebody their first opportunity. And people can say, well, Kim Eng had never been a general manager before, and she did a nice job. But Kim Eng had a resume that knocked your socks off when you look at it before she got here. Kim Eng should have been a general manager many years ago. Yeah. This isn't a job for some 32-year-old getting a crack at it for the first time, in my opinion. And look, somebody can come in, and if given the resources, look, you got a chance. There's some pieces in place here. There was some progress made this past season. But to your point, Defo, I think it's going to be hard. You're not going to have people knocking down the door other than people who really want that title, really want that first opportunity. Maybe they catch lightning in the bottle, but they'd already caught it. They had that person here. And now, you're a few weeks out from the general manager's meetings. Then next thing you know, you're going to be at the winter meetings. And you don't even know who's running your baseball operations. With all the questions they're going to have to answer this offseason, they're now going to start from 50 yards behind everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you get a dramatic, long break of serve in a big tennis match, and instead of consolidating the break by capitalizing on it and, throwing 3 aces in there in the next game, you lose that game, and you're right back where you started. And, you have to you went through all of these things, and it seems like it was much ado about nothing. It's very unfortunate. All right, a couple other things on the postseason here. We talked about the Rangers. They're on a roll right now, and do people still universally hate the Astros, Glenn, and is it justified? What do you think about that?
I think a lot of people do. I don't know about universal. I know in New York and Los Angeles, especially Yankees fans and Dodgers fans certainly still hold a grudge. Most of those guys from that era are gone now. Bregman is still there. Altuve is still there.
And we love Bregman because he's into horse racing. Yeah, I was going to say, we see Bregman. No, he owns a bunch of classy racehorses. So, and he's Jewish. So I mean, he's cool with us. Yeah.
He's got it all working, right?
Yeah.
And he was a big supporter of the drive for 75 the last few years. I hear.
Yes,
also.
Yes.
He's your guy.
No,
I think there are still some hard feelings, and I think, look, anytime a team has been in the LCS 7 straight years, had the success they have, there are going to be people who are rooting against them anyway. I feel like Texas is a pretty easy team to root for. Also, I go back to Bruce Bochy. So yeah, I think a lot of people are rooting against the Astros, even though I feel like time heals most wounds, and it's been a while, and most of those guys are gone. It's hard to root against Dusty Baker. It's hard to root against guys on that team as well. But for me, it's easy to root for Bruce Bochy. So, but I do think there is still a lingering stench around the Astros because of what happened.
I like the way you put that, lingering stench. You should write for a living. You're fantastic. Maybe
I'm trying. I'm trying to do that. Glenn Geffner.substack.com.
All right, and then on the other side of things, you mentioned the Phillies. They did sweep the Marlins in 2 games. I don't know that really stunned anybody, but and they've sort of got hot there. They pulled away in the wild card chase, had that thing under wraps pretty much for it seemed like the last month of the season. And their stars are on fire right now. Bryce Harper's hitting home runs every game. Castellanos been unbelievable. With what, like 5 home runs in the last 3 games. And Wheeler, the guy that the Mets thought was expendable out of that big rotation they had several years back, he's been dynamite. Aaron Nola looks like Bert Hooton out there with the knuckle curve. I don't know, you remember that thing? He used to just dive, Glenn. So they look like that. They're going to be formidable. Arizona, we, of course, because they were 50-1 going into the postseason among the postseason field. And, we thought, wow, that would be a great story. It's like Mind That Bird winning the Derby. Do you think the Phillies, it looks like, and they took, the first game, of course, but are they invincible right now? Is this the end of Arizona's Cinderella run?
Arizona looked like they had something special going, but this Philadelphia home field advantage is probably unrivaled in the postseason at this point.
Great crowds, yes.
Unbelievable crowds, electric crowds. In those years between 2007 and 2011, when they won the Division 5 straight years with the 2 World Series, won a World Series, we go into Philadelphia 9 or 10 games a year. That park was always full. They sold out every single game. It was always electric. It was always one of my favorite places to go. Then they went through that long dry spell. Finally got back to the playoffs last year for the first time in forever. And now they've got a good thing going. And they've got stars, like you say, who excel under the brightest lights on the big stage. Bryce Harper is putting that team on his back. You talk about Castellanos and the pitchers. They look, to me, at this point, especially having taken down the Braves as easily as they did, like the team to beat. Texas has something special working, I feel like, in the American League. But Philadelphia is going to be really hard to beat.
There goes our 50-1, Glenn. We debated whether to take the 50-1 on the Marlins, but 50-1, would have been a beautiful proposition going into the World Series. At that point, even Lubie was ready to hedge. No, Lubie is a hedge funder when it comes to any kind of gambling. All right, where can people find your stuff, Glenn? Because you've been doing a great job. I see. Even the way you promote this stuff on Facebook, you could tell that it's going to be interesting. So where can people find it if they're baseball fans here? I would imagine this would be must-read material.
Thank you. I'm writing on Substack. You can go to glenngeffner.substack.com. I tweet out my posts. I put them out on Facebook. My website is glenngeffner.com. You can go there and click on the View from the Bleachers link as well. My latest posts are included on my website as well. And I appreciate the support that we've gotten from you guys and from everybody who's subscribed and read along this year. It's $5 a month to subscribe or $50 for a full year, an annual subscription. And we try to generate content that you're not going to get in other places with some insight, some behind-the-scenes experience, and some perspectives that are a little bit different than what you see elsewhere, whether it's regarding the Marlins or Major League Baseball in general. And it's been a lot of fun to do.
Awesome stuff, as always. Glenn, it's always a pleasure having you on the show, and especially when we have unsolved mysteries, man. I was thinking maybe you were going to come out of a cloud of smoke here to help us decipher what happened with Kim Ng. And
maybe I'll be the next president of baseball operations.
Hey, you never know. They might circle back. As long as you have
pony up.
Yeah, you would have to have "I work cheap," written on your shirt if you wanted to do the interview.
Have that, though. I have "Show me the money." Show me the money.
Well, you get what you pay for too. We saw that all the way around the horn there, whether it was in the front office or in the broadcast booth. So, we miss you on the broadcast, and it's a shame as the team builds some momentum. Everybody seemed to have like a good feeling about it, and then you get the knitting needle stuck in that big balloon there that says "Happy Birthday." Boom! It just pops, and the air all comes out. All right, thanks so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Always great talking with you guys. Do it again soon.
All right, very good. Thanks very much, Glenn Geffner. We're going to make a little transition here, and this ought to be a lot of fun. Mike Lubitz says,
"We're super stoked."
Yeah, I think you guys want to stick around. We have a new hockey analyst on the show.
I love this. And what's great is, unlike his past appearance on South Florida Live, he can truly let it fly here.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was
anything, but
somewhat under wraps. I'm almost this might set a new record here for the
F-bomb.
Joe Pesci quotient. We love this guy though; he's fantastic, and wow, what a diversified individual. You talk about an artist, man. Did you see that clip of his band?
Oh,
He's great.
He's a musician too. Should I have to add that to his?
I mean, Bono better watch out. This cat's for real. All right, we're going to come back with a very special guest here. I'm going to debut our new hockey analyst here, and it's not Don Cherry. We can tell you that, and we'll be back with that in a moment. Now that was a lot of that's in that particular phrasing, wasn't it, Lubie? Am I losing it?
Yes, it was.
It's 8:48.
What's up, boys?
There he is.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. I don't have to say a lot more about the way I feel about Ric Flair. No respect, no honor. There is no honor among thieves. He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family. Daddy.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jim Sarney is our producer emeritus here on the show. I hesitate to use the word emeritus because I don't know the exact translation of it, meaning of it, but it sounds like a dead guy, Lubie, doesn't it? Which Sarney's very much alive. Yeah. So he saunters into Heritage Restaurant, which is in this, it's called the Flagler District. Let me welcome to the show here our new NHL analyst. And it wouldn't matter. I mean, what subject? We just found a topic for this gentleman. We just wanted to have him on the program. Rino Cerbone, the owner and the man behind Heritage, and it's called the Flagler District, correct? Rino, how are you, by the way?
What's going on, boys? Nice to see you early in the morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah, I mean, are you, frying up some eggplant for breakfast? What do you have going there?
No, when I'm not at the restaurant, I'm not touching a frying pan.
Okay.
I'm chilling out. Right now, I'm in this whole mode with you guys. I got a little notepad, a little thing. I'm ready to tap my pen on my desk. I'm ready to unveil this other portion of I guess a hidden talent that I might have. I don't know yet. We're gonna figure it out.
Oh no, it's far from a hidden talent. It's just an absolute stroke of brilliance. So anyway, we sometimes frown upon the suggestions of Mike Mayo, even though he's this sophisticated food critic and he has the food show on our channel. For a matter of fact, and we kind of created a monster, did we not, Lubie, with this guy?
Yes.
Remember, this is the way this started, Reno. I said to Lubie, hey, I'm thinking about Mike Mayo used to be a sports writer. Why don't we do some kind of segment going out to the weekend on a Friday on sports and food? Well, because everybody that likes sports likes to eat, and everybody that likes to eat doesn't necessarily like sports, but everybody likes to eat. Sure. So I thought it'd be a nice thing. And, Mayo was this sophisticated writer for the Sun Sentinel, and he had written sports, and I knew him from that. And so we started doing a segment with him on the radio called The Gambling Gourmet. And it evolved into this monstrosity that he has going right now with Mike Mayo's. And you should put the word in there, and you experienced this freebie lunchbox, right? How much money did you lose that day on that party? I mean, Reno, how can you afford to stay in business with guys like that out there?
Listen, with good company, it's worth it. I mean, you have not only do we have a lot of fun, but Mike's a great guy, and that's not ass kissing either. He's a great guy because I now that I got to know him and on such a different level, it's worth all the free lunches, man. I'm not worried about it. I had a lot of laughs. The only thing is that we got to talk about that big bite bullshit at the end, man.
Oh,
I
isn't that
almost had
something?
a heart attack, and I don't know how he hasn't yet. Because
well, I mean, there's debate about that. I mean, his numbers are certainly suspicious. He gets to look when he goes to the doctor.
No, man. When I watched that thing back, I'm like, man, this guy's cramming the sandwich down his throat. I hope everything works out. Hope he doesn't just keel over the booth right now.
Yeah, you're on the phone with your attorney. Hey, listen, Lipschitz. I'm telling you, he's eating the whole sandwich in one bite.
Excuse me, Finkelstein. I'm going to need you later on today.
All right, so the story then is, Mayo has been, just touting your restaurant, Heritage, forever, and then on Let's Eat South Florida, where they have like 120,000 subscribers, and they all get crazy over stuff,
Oh my God, they get nuts.
It's unbelievable. And then you were known, Reno, as a guy who would fire back on Yelp.
Oh yeah, and
Google. You were spearheading a movement in the restaurant industry that I think all chefs wish they were you.
I love it.
So it started out as my own enjoyment, just for fun. Like I have a routine in the morning, with the boys. I'll sit down and I'll have my espresso. We'll make our prep list and stuff like that, and I'll just pull out my phone. I'll be like, yo, look at this asshole from table 5 last night. Check this out, right? And we'll just start talking about it, and that's kind of how it started. But it became somewhat therapeutic because in our business, as like I said in the last interview too, it our business became the ass kissing industry, and it has to stop. People aren't used to being challenged, and they have this entitlement about themselves to where they don't feel like it's deserved for anyone to push the buttons and press the brownies a little bit. And I think that's complete shit. I think people need to speak up and whatever. And I tell you what, if more businesses, no matter what it is, mechanic shop, restaurant, any kind of whatever it is, whatever the service is, if more businesses did that without being in fear of what it's going to do to their business, I'm telling you, not only would it not affect it, right? I mean, you also have to be artistic about it too, right? You can't just be in F you and blah blah blah. It's you got to know the details of what's going on, and you really have to stand by your product. But I really feel like these platforms that have destroyed the industry would really kind of, I don't want to say cease to exist, but I think they'd be a lot more popular because for some reason, this guy who just had a donut from somewhere was so upset about how the jelly was not enough to the dough ratio, and that his fat ass has to go home and write a whole fucking paper, a whole thesis of how the jelly wasn't in there enough. And how was it? And when he bit into it, he was looking for this blissful cascade of jelly just falling down his face, and didn't happen. And he's just so outraged. I think he needs to choke.
Did Mayo write that? He sounds like somebody would dive into the emulsification factor with the jelly.
It's get over it, man. Don't lose sleep. Go stuff your own donut.
You see, that's what I love.
Speaking for the people. Go ahead, Lubie.
What I appreciate about you is it's not because people think people were ready to jump on you, or you were ready for people to jump on you. Our audience didn't. Our audience got it. We sort of trained them to not be jerk offs, but so you were beloved on what we do. But
that's awesome.
But you can come off, as, oh, this guy's a jerk. But the reality, it's not that you're a jerk. It's not, if someone does it in your restaurant, you want them to have good experience. So it's not that you're going to turn people away. It's not that you're going to say, I'm perfect. You openly admit, look, things go wrong. And the way you want to correct it is a way you don't want to just heat up a steak. You want to give them a new steak. You don't want to just heat up their pizza. You want to give them a new pizza. So it's not about you're perfect. It's about, let's handle it here. Let's handle it where I can actually affect change instead of some stupid website that nothing can change from that, but you hurt my business and you do nothing for yourself.
how about you be an adult and just shut the fuck up for 2 minutes? It's not that serious. Listen, I guarantee. And look, it's happened. It's happened. Yes. Am I close to perfect? I'd like to think so. But but when it does happen, on the rare instances that it does happen, it's such an easy thing to fix. And you know what? We're gonna sit down, we're gonna have wine after, because I have this tendency, which I absolutely love, that me and my team, we end up befriending our guests. Like
Nice.
we're tight with our guests. So you turn a negative into a positive. But when you're negative, kiss my ass. When you're negative and you're rude and you're entitled and you're pompous and whatever, just kiss my little white ass. Okay? Because there's no need for it. Because we could totally change this around right now.
All right, so Sarni, he's known for digging deeply into some minutia, we would have to say, when it comes to sports. But he comes up with the big fact that Lubie is thinking, well, we need a hockey expert, and we said, well, this guy is really good.
I don't know if I'm an
but
expert.
You have the inside track. I mean, you know the stuff that people want to know, because your sister has been married to the great Hall of Famer Roberto Luongo.
Correct.
For what? Like your entire lifetime?
Yeah. Came into my family. Rob came into my family. I was about 13.
And it's Rob to you. It's not even Luongo. I mean,
Roberto,
Rob.
Rob.
That's great.
Sorry. Yeah. Roberto.
No, but that's fine. I mean, this is what we want.
Call him Lou.
A great guy, by the way. A great guy.
He's amazing. And it's not because he's my brother-in-law. I mean, the cool thing that happened before him and my sister actually got together almost 3 decades ago, is he's just an incredible guy. I mean, I look up to him so much with so much. He's got so much to offer, not only with his dedication that he had to the sport, but it's like his professionalism. And this is where him and I are really funny, but we'll get into that. How we're polar opposites. Like, he's always very calm and collected and always says the right thing.
Yeah.
And I'm very crazy and out of my mind. And we sit down, we talk about it all the time. But no, he's an amazing person, an amazing dedicated athlete. I saw it firsthand throughout pretty much his whole career. And he's just awesome. Came to my family when I was 13, 14 years old. Him and my sister have been married since 2005.
Oh, wow.
But they were together like 5 years before that, 6 years before that. And yeah, it's been quite the journey to watch his career unfold the way it did, because I was a huge hockey fan even before he was in the picture. And that's kind of how it started. I played hockey for many years. Huge Florida Panther fan. I was 93. I was 6 years old when the Panthers came out, right?
Yeah.
And and he my family had a restaurant in Coral Springs called Pizza Time, and where they used to practice the ice den, which used to be it used to be called Incredible Ice at the time.
Yep.
And they used to practice there. And when my brother-in-law got traded to Florida, all the guys used to come in, especially like we were very tight with like Scott Mellenby and all those guys. My dad goes, "Hey, bring that Italian kid in. We'll make him feel, home. It's nice. We finally got an Italian guy. We finally got an Italian player, other than Dino Ciccarelli and those guys." Like, He goes, yeah, I'll bring him in. And literally, I want to say, I think it was like the next day or a couple days after that, Scott Mellenby brought him in. And ever since that day, my brother-in-law just, connected with us and has been hanging out at the restaurant ever since. And then, and that's kind of how
you met your
started.
sister? I mean, at this place?
Yeah, that's how it happened. So
your father might have had like an ulterior motive there.
No,
it wasn't just an Italian thing.
No. Well, listen, we gotta keep it in the fam. We gotta keep it tight.
It's a family.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We gotta eat pasta together. You know what I mean?
Those are just implications, and they're not necessarily. There's no foundation to the idea that there was actually like family activity. Right.
Listen, if that were the case, well done. Take the credit. If that were the case, but that's not exactly the most soft, romantic guy to begin with. So I don't even know if that was the first thing. But anyway, no, and so we had a dining room in the restaurant that was all the way to the left that we used to block off specifically for the team, because when the team first started coming in, it was a few guys. Then it was 6 to 8 guys. Then the next thing you know, it was almost the whole team before after every practice and before every game, and we would make their pre-team meal. So he started coming in, and we got to be friends with the whole team, and then you know a lot of the organization, and obviously we became closest to him. But that was down the road. That was a couple years down the road that he started dating my sister. What happened was my sister used to be an esthetician at a doctor's office, and he used to come to the restaurant for lunch every day. And one day he saw her, and that was kind of it was kind of history from there. So we got very, very lucky to have him a part of the family pretty quickly. But as far as inside scoop, I've gotten to see and I've gotten to meet some of the greatest players and just kind of be able to shoot the shit with them and just know what they're about. And this isn't me being partial. I think hockey players are the best, man. There's a vibe about them.
They're always terrific. It seems like. I mean, rarely do you find a jerk. And
There's
they really.
There's a couple.
Yeah, well, I mean, just by the nature of the sport, Reno. I mean, you said you were a hockey player, and you could take that same approach you take to those, critics on Yelp.
Yeah.
And apply it very much to hockey. I mean, it's an aggressive game. It's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
Listen, when I was a kid and I wanted to play sports, I loved soccer and I loved hockey.
Where were you growing up? Now, where were you growing up?
I was growing up here. I was growing up.
Here,
I was born in
and you were a
Costa.
hockey guy. Wow.
Yeah. Because it started out as roller, right? You and your buddies, you put on your roller blades, you
Yes.
go outside, you play, and then next thing you know, there's leagues, and then we got some ice rinks other than Sunrise and all that stuff, and we started playing, and there's a camaraderie that happens when you become on a hockey team. It's like a band of brothers. But so my dad's like, listen, you got to pick one. You got to pick one sport. 'Cause if you play both, you're gonna suck, right? You got to pick one, and you got to be good. And I was like, all right. So I picked the sport naturally where fighting is okay.
Yes, they encourage it.
Are you kidding me? When you have a disagreement, I could just punch somebody in the face. This is amazing. And
and they let you do it.
And it's not so hot. I'm skating in a big igloo with ice. Oh, this is the best. So I decided hockey really, 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 really quick. So yeah, so growing up in South Florida, not that common, but hockey really took off. Hockey really took off. There was everybody played.
Yes. Yeah. My son was into it with the roller hockey, and then whenever he had the opportunity to play ice hockey, he did. But sort of surprising because there's always this debate here about professional sports teams and whether or not the fans will have any kind of favorable reaction. We were just talking about that with Glenn Geffner, who used to do the Marlins games, and that franchise, no matter what they do, it seems like they're hell bent on self-sabotage. So the Panthers have also been caught in that mode. I mean, mired in mediocrity forever. We used to always put a date up over under on whether they'd be mathematically eliminated from the postseason by November, which had to be frustrating for Roberto Luongo. But what weird thing though does he do? I mean, he seems so normal. How could he be a goaltender? It seems impossible. I mean, what weird superstition does he practice? Is there any way you can reveal that to us, or would your sister not speak to you anymore?
Oh, listen. They know that I like ruffling feathers, so this is all good. No, you know what? You're absolutely right, because goalies are known as weirdos.
Yes.
They have to be.
And not because he's my brother-in-law. He's really not that weird, but he is superstitious, like very routine based. Like game days, it was the same thing, right? Like he had to get up, he had to eat this, he had to eat that. His pregame meal was always a little rigatoni pasta with sauce, bread, this, that, and he had to have his 2-hour nap. If we started catching on, I actually have a really funny superstition that happened when we were in Vancouver. But if he was wearing a specific tie that night and like had a great game, he would wear the same tie or suit the next game. Like there was just little things like that, but really no weird things you hear about, like hanging out in like a tool shed and like praying to a hockey stick and
massive doses of tranquilizer.
Like nothing like
veterinarian.
That. Yeah, nothing like that. They're like nothing super crazy. But here's a funny superstition. We were in Vancouver and it was one of those like streaks that he was on, it was like a 10-game winning streak. Before that 10-game winning streak happened, where he used to live in Vancouver, there was a McDonald's on the way from the arena to the house. So we were leaving one night and he's like, I'm starving. It was late. It was super late. He's like, I'm starving. He's like, It's like, I'm gonna get McDonald's. You want anything? I'm like, you're disgusting. No, I don't. But I'm like, no, but this could be great. So he gets, it's like, he gets like a what is it? 6-piece, 8-piece chicken McNugget, a burger, fries, whatever. And he pounds this shit in the car before we even get home, right?
No.
Next night, win again.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Where do we got to stop after the game? Gotta have the
Holy
8-piece
Donald
nuggets.
Trump! Yeah.
Dude, he's got to have the 8-piece nuggets. He's got to have the burger. This went on for like weeks, and I was like, dude. Now, it is no secret that my brother-in-law pretty much has IBS. He's got like right. This guy, as soon as food touches his lips, he's got to go to the bathroom. Right? So, I mean, you saw it with that clip. Are you guys familiar with that clip where it was the middle of the playoffs, where it's overtime? We're in the middle of facing a I don't want to say elimination, but we were about to eliminate the Ducks, and he comes like the start of overtime happens, and he's not in net. You guys know this story, right?
No,
holy shit!
Yeah. Oh, really good.
Listen, it's playoff
time. You had to
time.
take a dump. Wow.
Yeah, listen, it's playoff time, okay? It's playoff time. It's over. I think it's the second overtime, if I believe. Or was the first overtime? At the time, his backup was a guy named Danny Sabrin. My brother-in-law's on his head. He's standing on his head in this game, stopping shots left and right. Overtime happens. Me and my dad are home. We're back in Florida at this point. And my brother-in-law's not on the bench or on the ice. We're like, holy shit, what happened? Did he pull something? Is he hurt? And I turn to him and I go, I bet he's in the bathroom. I bet he's in the bathroom, because we have this joke, man. He's just, as soon as he eats, he's got to. I was like, oh my God. As luck would have it, this poor backup, Danny Sabrin, as soon as overtime starts, is getting pucks left and right. This guy he's just shooting. They pan to the tunnel, and my brother comes running through the tunnel. Right? And now he's standing on the bench waiting for a whistle. Didn't happen.
No.
Which didn't happen. This poor guy, he had to break his ass. He had to break his ass for like a good 8 minutes before there was a whistle. And when he gets on the ice, you see him give a little hug and a kiss. And he's like, yo, man, thank you so much for saving my ass. And I knew it. And we've been talking about it ever since. And he's very open about that story, because it's hilarious.
You couldn't wait for them to lose a game, so you could get out of that scenario there. Did you extract anything for any of the heritage items from the sauce on the Big Mac by any chance during that?
Yeah, right. On one of my aiolis was it's like the fancy fine dining
Big Mac pizza.
Big Mac sauce. Yeah.
Reno, I can tell the hockey segment is going to be a hit. I hope you can do this on a regular basis.
I got some stuff.
I don't think we've had any NHL segments that were quite like that. We great. And very revealing also. I mean, if you got inside shit here, this is what we were looking for.
I got some inside shit.
Fantastic, yeah.
Not too much, but enough, I think.
All right, I'm going to pound down some of that bolognese. That was absolutely amazing. Heritage Restaurant.
Get back, man. Get back over there.
Just off A1A south of Sunrise there. You make a right, and you're right there. It's fantastic. All right, thanks so much, Reno. It was a pleasure, my friend.
You got it, man. Thank you, boys.
That was great. Unbelievable. Oh, there's our hockey expert. I mean,
good job.
Sometimes you get lucky, right? Sarny did it again, huh?
Sarny nailed it.
Maybe we should be, following more closely the women's junior varsity crew championships from Lake Onondaga.
Crazy.
Here we are, Lakeside here. I probably called some of that shit back in the day when the Sunshine Network was just going.
I'm not against those sports. I just don't need it. We only do an hour and a half to 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
It is. We don't time.
Well, I mean, you're looking at mainstream here. I mean, let's face it.
We get 4 hours. We fit some stuff in. Don't get me wrong, but we're not doing 4 hours. It's just different.
I could talk about the money I lost yesterday betting a horse called Dr. Jerry, who I faced off against on the tennis courts last night, making a surprising, triumphant return, Lubie. This even surprised me. All right, Dave Hyde going to join us next. So we'll get more into this whole Kim Eng thing. And the other things that are happening around town.
Good, and then the Eng thing happened. I'm like, all right.
No, I mean it's couldn't be any more of an interesting story, Lubie, for my money. I mean, if you're looking at here's a team that's making history, right? I mean, they went ahead and they shoved aside all of these barriers and obstacles and said, we're going to do it. We're going to be the first team in North American sports. Now, it's one thing if it's some clown team, but this was a move that actually was not some token, BS move, where a very deserving female candidate became the general manager of North American sports professional franchise and was calling shots that worked out.
Yes.
If Cashman had made these same moves at the trade deadline, maybe the Yankees are in the postseason.
You understand? My buddy texted me, like I didn't know. Of course I know. And we're like, so what happened? I'm like, the Marlins. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, the Marlins happened. I'm like, she was great. And then he went down the list. I'm like, you don't have to tell me the moves. I know the moves she made. I'm here. We talk about it every day. And he's like, I wish he's like, the Yankees need her. He's like, these are the exact moves the Yankees need. I'm like, yes, I know. I'm aware.
Well, and they demonstrated some insight, even though they all didn't work out, to perfection, right? But, who the hell was Jake Berger? I mean, this guy couldn't have been any more of an influence on what the Marlins did to make it to the postseason since he was acquired. And the same thing with Josh Bell. The Robertson thing was at best so-so. Actually, turned out to be rather suspect. But there's always going to be debate about you just savage the farm system. But I'm not sure what the.
Who cares?
Look at Dave Dombrowski. Ask him about the farm system.
Yeah.
Where is he the last couple of years since he went to Philadelphia? All right, Dave Hyde going to join us next, and we'll close out the show with Dave Hyde here. So stick around. We should have a reasonable amount of time to explore a lot of things with the great columnist Dave Hyde of the South Florida Sun Sentinel. That's coming up in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Oh, and what is the name of the place here for the Mike Mayo festivities today? 1 o'clock now, post time for the Mike Mayo show.
I think it's Luke's Seafood Grill.
Luke's Seafood Grill.
Yes.
Luke
Luke is what I saw online.
Oh, Luke, as in Luke
straight
Donald.
up Luke, like straight up Luke, yeah.
By the way, I did want to mention, Andy Bean checked out, the golfer Andy Bean.
Yeah, that's sad.
What was the first golfer I ever interviewed when I was a cub reporter for the Ontario Daily Distort. And they sent me to the Riviera Country Club for the LA Open, and I had to find some kind of sidebar story. And one of the most available guys, very generous with his time, very, calming. One of these people that you approach. I was a little nervous about even approaching people back then. And sat down with Andy Bean. I couldn't have been a nicer guy. So always had an affinity for him. And he did very well in his career. What did he win? Like 11 tournaments, Lubie, something like that? The Beaner, man. And he was right there knocking on the door. He almost had Watson by the, short hairs in that British Open that Tom Watson won. Did he win more than one, Watson?
I think so.
See, we shouldn't be going over golf statistics. What am I, the Alliance fucking Sports Bureau? I mean, what do I know about this, Tom Watson? Let's bring on Dave Hyde in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 9:14.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
You know what I'm going to do? Because you don't ever give me a face shake. You know that? So I'm going to let you talk to Victor Ortiz, all right? I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? You never give me a face shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know about boxing. You ain't You got I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
In the words of the late great Gordon Soley, it's pandemonium. Pandemonium has broken out here. That's how it was in the ring. Unbelievable. All right, no sign of Dave Hyde, Mike Lubie. Is that okay? I mean, it was because we got so late.
Well, he did. I reached out to him before we were late to say, I think we're running a little late. Is it okay if we do 9:15? And then I didn't hear from him then, so that's not great. And then I called him anyways, and no pickup. So
all right,
we'd love to get Hyde. If not, we'll try and fit him in tomorrow. If we can make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is be, sort of quietly stunned. I know we don't have all of the facts and every detail of the situation, and probably, I don't know that we either need to have them or ever will. But once again, the Marlins organization with just one of those moves where you're astounded. Because I remember reading towards the end of the season that Kim Eng hadn't, had a contract that was going to expire at the end of the year. That there wasn't really that much talk then about this mutual extension, which would have included the 2024 season. So you had to think that at some point in time, this was an agreeable situation.
Well, they picked
Kim
it up, so they wanted her in that sense.
They wanted her, and she said, "You know what?
No,
take this job."
Exactly.
And shove it up your ass there. Bruce Sherman, who I started to like Bruce Sherman a little bit, didn't you? It seemed like, okay, he doesn't come out and make outrageous statements that are, alienating to the fans. Remember Jeffrey Loria standing up there at spring training one year when everybody was particularly sour about, some of his outrageous, penny-saving maneuvers. And, people were just absolutely livid. Whatever fan base they had was dissipating by the dozens every minute. And he stood up there and blamed the media for fanning the flames of negativity, which I always find somewhat surprising because, look, this media here in South Florida especially, it was never particularly harsh.
No. Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's overwhelmingly, sensitive to the idea that, what's good for the team might be good for us also, right?
Yeah.
Not that you're not objective or whatever, but, you rarely. Yeah, go ahead, Libby. I mean, you rarely see the guy just railing away on a team that is having tremendous success.
Yeah.
Correct?
No, it's not New York. It's not Philly. They don't go. They're not antagonistic.
No. Not at all. No, the media here are very kind and gentle by comparison to most places. You wonder how other cities could operate like that, because even in Los Angeles, when I was there, I mean, you didn't have, the media and the teams being antagonistic towards each other.
Nope.
That didn't really happen. I think overall, professional sports teams decided that they wanted to protect their interests by being far more private. And so... is it fair to say, Lubie, that accessibility is nothing like it used to be?
Oh, no. I mean, look, that's why Rino was right when he said hockey players. Hockey players are still pretty accessible. It's hard to get active players. It's just especially stars in other sports really don't give their even baseball. And baseball used to be great about it. Even
baseball was ultimate in terms of access. You couldn't have asked for more ability to grab just about any player and explore virtually any topic, and you had more than enough time for that person to expound on whatever it was that you were talking about. Because you used to be able to just walk on a field, grab some guy at batting practice, and sit down in the dugout. I did that many times, while covering baseball games in Los Angeles, where you would figure the market would be a little bit more difficult to deal with because you had a larger number of people. A sprawling metropolis that Los Angeles is, sprawling, Lubie. And so you had people coming in from all over, right? Hey, where are you from? Culver City? Okay. Thousand Oaks? Yeah, great. And there was a newspaper in every town and a radio station. You would have loved this. There was a radio station in every town pretty much, right? I mean, you could go to some buttfuck place like Rancho Cucamonga and, hey, there it is, KREL. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Your favorite radio station. They're playing all of your country hits. And as I've mentioned many times, carrying the late, great Catherine Kuhlman at night, which led to my first firing. Where
losing to a dead woman.
it really was an eye opener, and that was very early on, man. I just was on the fringe of like the broadcasting side of this stuff because I had been working at newspapers, and I started working with this guy named Bob Harvey, which was a made up name, but nonetheless, and he was a pioneer in getting your own airtime and selling it. It was a very valuable lesson. But we got canned from a talk show because Catherine Kuhlman was beating us in the ratings. I remember sort of being stunned by that because most popular evangelist that was ever on the airwaves, and this is that kind of area, right? We're out here in Chino, fucking California, right? You're just hoping not to step in cow shit. Their idea of recreation really was, and this wasn't even popular at the time, was like bull riding. You would go, I used to have to cover some of these stories, right? Schlepp through cow shit to some barn somewhere, and some 9-year-old was riding a bull. And you're like, well, what kind of crazy person would engage in this, much less subject their children to it? It was that kind of place. But Kuhlman, was beating us badly in the ratings, and it turned out she'd been dead for 5 years. I'm like, wow, I guess that is kind of a viable reason to maybe go in another direction at this point. So that was that. But no, a lot of fun covering sports out there, and you had access to everything. I mean, literally, you could pull like Steve Garvey aside, say, "Hey, Steve, you got a few minutes?" And the guy would say, "Yeah, sure, whatever you need." Not everybody, but for the most part, pretty much everybody. And it isn't that way anymore. I guess baseball, you can go in the clubhouse. What? I mean, before the game, do they even allow guys out on the field anymore for batting practice?
I think so.
Yeah, that was like a big source. I mean, you'd just be sitting there shooting the shit, with guys trying to get some kind of perspective on a story. It was really a good time. But the Dolphins, I mean, are they as accessible as they used to be, Lubie?
No. What do you mean? The Dolphins were we were the home of the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And I was really cool. God rest his soul, with Jason Jenkins, who was like the head dude. And they'd get us a Dolphin every week, but they never got me anyone I asked for. And they never got it. They would get us the stars once a season. Like we would get Tannehill once. We never got Sue. We tried to get Ndamukong Suh a bunch of times. Never got him once. Yeah. And we never got I think we got Philbin one. Like we were the home.
Smokin' Joe did a couple of interviews with us. Certainly before the season.
Yes, but it was pulling teeth. Like it wasn't just they were giving you the stars every freaking week. It didn't happen that way.
I love the fact that Smokin' Joe Philbin dug the nickname Smokin' Joe Philbin. That came as one of the great surprises to me. I mean, I've been in a lot of situations doing this for as many years as I have, and all of them for the most part very pleasant experiences. Because I was talking with Ira the Met fan the other day, celebrating like a big number on the board.
He's the best.
And he's still like teaching some baseball class at an adult education place somewhere, which is great, right? He has like a bunch of people come in and he lectures on different things. And he said he made one of his lectures about the access that he had to being inside of sporting events through our friendship. Where, he's on the roof smoking a joint, as Phil Saltzman is saying, they're not going to get her today, right? Or, we're down on the field and Al Leiter comes over, who Ira, the Met fan, idolizes. But I happen to know him, for years because we used to do a couple of things together on the radio. And he comes over and taps Ira and me on the shoulder and says, "Don't let anybody fucking out here." And I was like, "Oh shit, we're getting kicked off the field." I'm like, no, this is my buddy here. He didn't wash his hand for 2 years after Al Leiter shook his hand. And then when he saw John Franco, oh my God, the guy practically had an orgasm in his pants. And we take this for granted though, Lubie, right? In fact, we're even bitter about it. What do you mean I got to stand there with Ryan Tannehill for 4 hours? Fuck him. I hate the way he plays.
I mean, I wasn't. It was good money, but I hated it.
What you love can also taint you towards the very thing that you love, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right. No sign of Dave Hyde. So
Hyde.
We're going to do a little pass-through on that. I did, the baseball games. You weren't too interested in that, man. You went right to Kim Ng with I was gonna touch on that Philadelphia series. I mean, kind of nice to see. Our man Dave Dombrowski goes to Philadelphia. He does not believe in farm systems.
No, what do you mean? We were getting a member. He became our baseball expert because between jobs, and then he literally came on. He's like, "I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to do this." We're like, "Okay." He's like, "I'm gonna be named the Phillies president tomorrow."
Like, right. I mean, he was trying to get like expansion. He was like wearing cowboy boots in Nashville with a big hat on.
Yep.
10-gallon hat, and he was listening to like Luke Bryan songs. Unbelievable. Trying to get a team there. Well, you know what? I think baseball really worked down here. The team motto is going to be squat down like a pig. That was it. Dave Dombrowski. No, Dombrowski was great, man. Remember he came on, he did like a brilliant interview. We were like blown away as always. I always remember Dave being brilliant. Two guys I always enjoyed talking baseball with, besides Glenn Geffner, Tommy Hutton, where Dave Dombrowski, of course, when he was a GM here, he was always great. And then subsequent to that, whenever we were, and the great Mike Veck, what was always a lot of fun because his ideas were so abstract and he was so out there, and yet he was so successful in so many things. And he would speak openly about disco night in Chicago as well, which was the single greatest failed promotion. I mean, to the point where your team forfeited a game. Unbelievable, unprecedented, and never to happen again, I believe. Oh. Forfeited a game because of your halftime. Well, it was a between games of a doubleheader promotion. What was the name of the DJ there out of Chicago? No, do you remember?
No, I don't know.
That was tremendous. But yeah, Veck was always fascinating. And I guess I think there's a documentary out about him, Mike Veck, that I heard somebody recommend.
There was, yes, there was.
Yeah, and I would love to see it. I don't know. Do you have any? Is that a Netflix thing or?
I'll look it up. I'm trying to find out. The DJ's name was Steve Dahl.
Steve Dahl, yeah, out of Chicago. Very nice.
Chicago DJ Steve Dahl, yeah.
Remember he had the helmet on, man, and it was a great concept, wasn't it? I mean, we're going to destroy all of these disco records because disco was destroying, the musical landscape of this country.
For the Mike Veck, the Saint of Second Chances documentary. I think that's on Netflix.
Netflix. Oh, okay. I have to check that out.
Mike Veck, the innovator, baseball innovators. It's on Netflix.
Great guy. He used to be a regular when I was doing this Sunday morning sports page show on WIOD.
Yeah.
So I'm on WIOD on a Sunday morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Jesus.
Not exactly prime time, you would think, but surprisingly, Lubie, I mean, this was when the industry was hot. And you could go on a Sunday morning on a decent radio station. And, if you wanted to just take calls for 4 hours, they were there.
Jesus.
Which, I mean, remember how we used to just sit there and go, and these phones working? Could somebody call us? And just let us know the phones are working. And you're thinking, what level of desperation is this? Could you call Andy? Could you pick up the phone and call us?
Actually name people on there.
Hey, Stu in Miramar. Give us a shout here. Lenny the Chronic, anybody, please. Fucking dying here.
I would call the phones and test them.
Yeah, testing the fucking phones. Back then, it was great, man. I mean, literally, you could come on with some bullshit survey or something and take 100 telephone calls and think that, you had a big audience, even though the people were answering the same questions for 4 hours. But Mike Veck was among, Stan Van Gundy was another at that time.
Yep.
You used to impose on these people to come in and sit in the studio for an hour.
That's great.
On a Sunday morning. And they would, Mike Veck had no problem. He would show up. He was on time and always fascinating. I always enjoyed talking with him. That's when the industry was fun, Lubie.
Yeah.
Talk to a guy for an hour. Remember when I first got to 940 and Ken Charles, the program director, said, listen, no interview is interesting for more than 3 minutes.
That's not an interview.
What the hell? I mean, are we going to go 12 3-minute rounds? What are we doing here? Got to be kidding me. Who are you, Mills Lane? Let's get out of here. All right, we're gonna get out of here this morning. It was a lot of fun being with you. Definitely was. And baseball playoffs. One game tonight. You have game 2 of the Phillies series against Arizona. Zach Gallen got touched up yesterday. He wasn't. He got roughed up early. Schwarber hit a leadoff home run. Harper had a home run the same inning.
Yeah, but Wheeler is like on one now. Wheeler's pitching pretty
Wheeler
well.
is dealing, and Aaron Nola's last couple of starts, great. Same thing, Evaldi. I mean, he's been brilliant the last.
Yeah.
I think he's 3-0 in the postseason with like a minuscule earned run average, and sort of has like some quirky activity when he's on the mound, doesn't he? I mean, he's walking around there like he's on some kind of psychotic drug, trying to block the demons from coming through and saying, "You won't be able to find the strike zone with a GPS device." Right? Shaking it off like it was Tom Barrasso in the pipes there for the Boston Bruins back in the day when the Panthers, made that Stanley Cup run, right? 90, was that 96, 97, something like that?
Yes.
All right, very good. All right, we'll see you later on. We're going to be at Luke's. What's it called, Louie? Do we know?
Luke's Seafood Grill is what I think it is.
Luke's Seafood Grill, and that is where? Plantation?
It's not. It's University just north of Griffin, I think.
University north of Griffin. Okay.
So it's it is LUC''S, which I thought
that's what I thought, Louie.
Luke's Seafood and Grill, and it's considered Davie, Florida, is what they're considered.
Davie, okay. University just north of Griffin, you said.
Is what Mayo said. Mayo said, because I was thinking Sterling.
Now, are they open for lunch, or is this a special Mayo
I don't
consideration?
know. Yeah. That's a good question.
I want to say yes to being open for lunch. I'm gonna say yes to that.
I'll look it up and we'll announce it, I guess, on the Mayo Show. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good to know that beforehand, though, if people were planning on coming out there. I mean, a lot of people are interested in meeting Mike Mayo at this stage.
They are.
Yeah.
I don't have hours here.
Okay.
They may be open for lunch. I'm not sure. I mean, they're in the Davie area, so
I like the special openings. I love going to Casa Calabria. I missed the last couple, but
you haven't gone. You've been sliding.
I love the restaurant is closed to all other activity except us. That's a nice feeling, and a good way to sample all of the different things that they have.
They're closed on Mondays, but Tuesday through Thursday they're open 11:30 to 8, and then Friday and Saturday they're also still open at 11:30.
Okay,
till later, so they are open for lunch. Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry we missed out on Dave Hyde today. That was probably our fault. Glenn Geffner, brilliant.
They need to get back to me, so I don't know. I think it's a mutual thing.
Well, maybe Kim Eng is speaking somewhere, and going to give spill the beans about the whole organization.
Stupid idiots.
These guys are full of shit.
Fucking Marlins.
Don't believe anything. It's a shame, really, because, I would have been so happy to see, like, next baseball season be something of a positive nature.
Them coming off a good year, willing to spend money with someone who actually can spend it capably. Like, I was actually curious. That was my big gripe was, okay, can they do this a second? They have yet to win 2 straight years. Can they do that? Let's see what Kim Eng can do. Like,
well, and she could have sat chilly there at the trade deadline and nobody would have thought anything of it because that's what they almost always do.
They always do.
Yeah. Usually they're getting rid of players at the trade deadline. So, she made some bad trades or moves and signings, but also a lot of good ones, right? You would have to say, Marte, who was going to be a free agent, when she dealt him to Oakland and got Luzardo, that turned out to be a very positive thing. Yeah.
What do you mean? He and Garrett were the only pitchers they had all year.
Amazing. I mean, they really, you talk about patchwork and makeshift. That's what the Marlins lineup
100%.
was this year.
Yeah, like how does she not get credit?
But those 2 additions at the corners, I mean, made all the difference in the world. Otherwise, they don't make the postseason.
I hate the Marlins.
So you have to love somebody that actually makes moves, even though they've made mistakes in the past, and isn't afraid to go ahead and do it again and say, hey, okay, I got to keep swinging here, man. I'm not going to stand up there at the plate and take a called strike. Forget about it.
I don't know.
All right, we will see you guys later on from Luke's Seafood Grill, and that's officially in Davie, Florida. Mike Mayo.
Yes.
And the Mike Mayo Lunchbox. And thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:35.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.